Danielle, how are we doing?
My 11-year-old daughter was diagnosed with ADD in second grade.
Okay.
We tried her on some medication. She didn't do very well with it. It either made her physically ill or just a totally different, depressed little girl. She's very happy, very, like my little sunshine girl, I call her. So we're not doing medication now. I've read Gabor Mate's Scattered Minds book, but I just need some tangible ways to encourage her to be more disciplined without her feeling ashamed of herself.
So give me a picture of, what was it about her in second grade that made you think, uh-oh, something's wrong with my daughter, I need to get her medicated? Paint me that picture. What was going on?
So her teacher brought it up to me, and actually her stepmother too. I really just thought she was she's the life of the party. She's a social butterfly. So I just thought it was that's her personality. I really didn't think that she had ADD, but her stepmother's a teacher. So she said, I think she has this. And then her teacher also said it. Or that, she's having trouble focusing. She can't get her work, or she doesn't get her work done. Her handwriting's really sloppy. She's just kind of scattered. So then I took her to the pediatrician, and they had this test. I don't even know if they still do it now, but it was some FDA-approved test to see if they had ADHD. She's never been hyperactive, but she did, fail or whatever, and they said that she had ADD. So then we started the medication, and it was not good.
Yeah. So what do you see in your home? I love your initial default, which was she's just a life apart. This is her personality. We're going to have some things that make her unique and beautiful in her own way, like bonkers handwriting. And man, we're going to have to really stay on her. What have you noticed that has made you think my daughter's broken?
Okay. So when she does homework, I usually have to sit with her the entire time.
Okay.
Or she won't finish it. She just spaces out. She, whatever. If I tell her to go do a task, like today, I told her, pick up the things off your floor. And I usually just try to give her one task at a time. But it seems lately that even just the one task, she gets distracted before she can get it done.
Okay.
So I said, pick up the things off the floor and then empty your lunchbox and then go clean your guinea pig's cage. So she didn't even get to the first one before she got distracted.
How does she do with lists? Like if you sit down with her and say, all right, let's make a list of the next 3 things you've got to do, and you have a big check mark that would have included those 3 things. How does she do with those?
She does better with lists, but she'll do the funnest thing first. Whatever is the most fun, that's what's going to, happen. And then sometimes she forgets to go back to the list even.
Okay.
And so I have done that before, and it's like, she just sometimes doesn't go back to the list.
Yeah. So you mentioned, and again, I'm going to ask these questions not in a causal blame kind of way. Can you promise me that you won't take them there?
Sure.
I know it's so hard, okay? I'm trying to get a full picture of your daughter. You mentioned she's got a stepmom, and so one of the tenets of ADHD that I just live by is that it's not a brain disorder, but it's a developmental delay, right? And often if there's psychological tension in the home, then that kids start to make sense of their world in a chaotic way. So she's from a home of divorce, is that right? Tell me about the home she grew up in.
So her father and I divorced when she was 2.5. I think it was 2.5. And she in Florida, they want it to be kind of 50-50. Her dad lives on the other side of town, so she stays with me 60% of the time, and then he gets some of the time. Her dad also has ADD too. So I mean, her dad and I didn't yell and argue and fight a lot. It was kind of, I guess, like a deep, underlying feeling of stress. It was just kind of,
kids absorb what I call that low-level tension it's that third rail that just buzzes underneath the house at all times. Yeah.
Right.
And children will absorb that. And then obviously the grieving process for both of you after this is over, right? And so here's a couple of important things, and I'll give you some tangible things here. Super important. Please, please, please. Let your daughter know she's not broken. And I would have a hard conversation with stepmom and dad. We are not going to communicate to our daughter that she's broken in any way, that she has some sort of thing that is going to keep her from having joy or being productive. She's going to need medication for the rest of her life. I will tell you right now, my childhood was hard. And I wouldn't trade. I'm off the chart. If you were to give me an ADHD test, I'm off the chart on it. And I wouldn't trade anything for it. Nothing. Because of the creativity, the way I solve problems, all of that stuff. And I have to be highly intentional about surrounding myself with a team of people that keeps me accountable. Just today on this show, James was saying before he started the show, you have 1 minute and I'm pushing start on the record button, right? Like, we're going to do this, right? And so I do have a group of people who will hold me accountable for being on time, which I struggle with because I love just talking to people, being in relationship with folks. I do have folks that work with me on a task list. And this is stuff I've had to grow up and learn how to do, and it's hard and it's challenging, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Okay? And so I don't want your daughter growing up thinking she's deficient, busted, broken, not like everybody else or anything like that. Your initial response, that core thing that came out of you, which was, look at our unique daughter, look what she brings to the world and to each social interaction she's involved in, that's a kind of spirit. And so what I tell parents often is this is a context, not an excuse. Okay. You have a picture, great. You still got to clean your room, right? So there's a balance between going to war with a kid and coming up with strategies that are going to help them be successful. So what I've seen highly successful in my own personal life and with kids that I've worked closely with and with families is breaking tasks up into bite-sized chunks, especially for young kids, is a big deal. Holding out the the fun one. You're going to do these two and then the fun one. And then I'm going to give you this card and then we're going to set the timer and I'm going to come check on you in 10 minutes. This is going to be harder for you for the next couple of years for both you and your husband and stepmom, right? Or for your ex-husband and stepmom. Y'all going to have to lean in. And so with one of your kids, you might be able to say, hey, go clean your room, and they're going to come back in 30 minutes. I have found it helpful to walk into a room and say, all right, we're just doing shoes now. When all the shoes are up, come back and find me. And it may come back in 3 minutes. They may come back in 30 minutes. And I'm going to go check on them. So it's breaking up jobs in bite-sized chunks. And here's what we're looking for. We're looking for little wins. We're looking for little successes to build on, not a cumulative amount of failures to point out. Does that make sense?
Okay.
A phrase that guides my life is this: don't forget to remember. And I took that from Dr. Mate, but don't forget to remember. And so often kids who are experiencing this symptomology of ADHD, they will walk through a room and they won't see their clothes on the floor, and they just literally are not processing it, right? They're just running right to the next thing. But you know what they know? They know feelings. And they know how good it feels when the room is clean. And so I will get out of my truck and there'll be 7 glasses in my truck when I get home. I don't know where they come from. They seem to grow in my car. But I will go start my truck in the winter, and then I'll put a cup of coffee in there, and then I'll run upstairs and be like, I need to get some coffee before I leave the house. And I'll come down with another one. I'll have 2 in there. I'll drink them both on the way to work. And then I'll come out of work and I'll have 2. I don't know where they all come from. But here's the thing. I remember how good it feels when my truck is clean when I get in the morning. And so every night I remember how good it's going to feel tomorrow. And for whatever reason, that fuels me. That gets me to stop what I'm doing. I know how good it feels when I have that little thing I put over my windshield and it's not covered in ice, right? So don't forget to remember. So if you point out feelings, not failures, for a kid who's struggling in this way, remember how good it feels when you do the fun thing. Remember how good it feels when all of your clothes are picked up. I want you just to get your dresses and then come back and find me. And just get your tennis shoes and then come back and find me. And we're going to celebrate those little wins. And you, Mom, are going to get exhausted. Okay, it's such a beating. You just want to go do your thing, right? And it's going to be hard. You're teaching her how to have little wins in her life, and these are going to pay off big time down the road. A couple of other things is exercise is huge. Okay, and we often think of exercise as burning off energy. It's not. It's a way to get different chemicals pulsing through a young body. Okay. And it's good for her. It's good for you. And that could be walking. And when y'all go on walks together, hold hands. Make sure she's getting physical touch from you, and make sure that you have skin-to-skin contact with her as much as humanly possible. Make sure your husband is doing that as well. And I'm talking about kind of obnoxious amounts. Like, I'm just going to hold your face for a second, and this is super weird, and I'm your mom, and I'm going to be super weird, and you're going to just have to get over it. And she'll go, Mom, this is so weird. And you'll be like, I'm just a weird mom. I'm going to hold your face. And you're going to look at me in the eyes. You're going to count my the little creases in my eyes. Count my wrinkles. I dare you, right? Something like that. But I want her to start consciously getting skin-to-skin contact and eye contact. And then sleep is major, okay? And sleep can be wartime for kids that are struggling with this. But a sleep routine that no matter what is going on, ever stick to that routine. And something about a kid's brain that has sleep just slowly over time turns those alarms off, okay? Schools, I think, are almost borderline criminal for how early they make kids get up, how early they, how much work they give these kids in the evening time, and they got kids going to bed at 10 o'clock and getting up at 5 o'clock to be at school by 6:45. It's literally insane what we're doing to these children's brains. And that may mean that you have to put start getting ready for bed at 7:30, and you're going to feel weird, and then have your kid in bed no later than 8 o'clock, 7:30. We do real early bedtimes in our house. As you can imagine, my kids, they look a lot like their dad, and sleep is everything. Couple other things, play with your kid, hey, you may have heard me earlier talking about do silly things. Like if you've got, go outside and play catch with a tennis ball, have water fights, but tangible things that they can touch back to. I'm normal and I'm laughing, and mom's normal and she's laughing, and we're all doing stuff together. Nature, walking around outside barefoot. Some of these things that are going to sound really weird and not like kooky, try them out for 30 days. And I almost guarantee you that your kid will have a reorientation to you and to just a more peace, right? Peace. And if it's about connection with your kid, if it's about playing with your kid, if it's about joy with your kid, and not about what they didn't do, those alarms in her heart and mind can start to slow down and quiet a little bit, which then, of course, gives her an opportunity to be a little bit more successful with cleaning up, a little bit more successful with seeing how good that feels when she gets something done, and so on and so on and so forth. And this is going to be hard for you. Can I tell you one more thing for you?
Please.
I want you to forgive yourself and carry no baggage about this in your own heart, okay?
Okay.
Will you promise me that?
Yeah.
Moms and dads absolutely beat themselves up for this. Parents who get divorced absolutely beat themselves up for this stuff. And what I'll tell you is that tension that you feel, that shame that you feel, that hurt inside you that you feel, she absorbs that and she blames herself for that feeling and tries to fix it. Okay?
Okay.
And so I want you just to be at peace. This is what it is. Your daughter's beautiful. Sounds like she's fun. She's going to be hilarious. She's going to be the life of the party. She's going to be an awesome person to be employed by. And she's going to have a really killer admin assistant that keeps her on track, right? That's the way that's the way it's going to work. And she is going to have to learn some skills that mom can't be calling her at college saying, did you do your homework? She's going to have to learn how to fail. And she's going to have to learn that mom's not going to pay for college when she fails, and so she's going to have to figure it out, and she will, right? Especially if you start these connection practices now. I also want you to be super graceful with her in this season. I don't know a single kid in the United States of America that's not struggling right now. COVID has been a train wreck on these poor kids, and they've been locked in front of screens. They've had weird associations. Even when they're at school, they're wearing masks. It's just been a mess. And so every signaling receptor system a kid has, which is eye contact, face contact, watching people's mouths, laughing, shoving each other in the hallways, all those things, all that's gone away overnight. And so if you have a kid who leans towards being a little bit hyperactive, if you have a young girl who's hyperactive, which sometimes look like they shut down, man, this is just messes with them. It just melted them. So be graceful too. And I'll just tell you, your daughter's lucky to have you, man. I love hearing from my mom. Hey, I read about it. I'm learning about it. What are some tangible things? So do that for 30 days. I'd love, please call me back, Danielle. Let me know how this is going. I'd love to know how how your daughter's doing after 30 days of intense sleep. Man, movement, little wins, and a lot of contact from mom. And mom forgiving herself and dropping that brick of shame and moving on and being joyful too. That's awesome.